Episode 26, When You're Unmotivated and Uninspired. Or maybe the title should actually be When You're Too Motivated or Too Inspired, and how to balance it all. Welcome back. As you know, I wasn't here last week, and guess why? We had puppies. And honestly, until she really went into labor, I was actually unsure if this was an actual thing. Now, we're going to talk about your coaching business. We're going to talk about when you're unmotivated or uninspired, or when you're too motivated and too inspired. That happens also. And you have so many ideas that you can't take action, or sometimes you feel so unmotivated and uninspired from so much motivation and inspiration. The brain's a really crazy thing. If you are watching this podcast, you will notice a background that is not what you think a professional entrepreneur would be showing you. And that is exactly why I'm showing it to you today. It is exactly why I'm showing up with no makeup, hair on top of my head, in a sweatshirt, in pajama pants, because I want you to see and hear the behind the scenes of a real life entrepreneur, which is me and which is you, because I think it's really, really important, especially in this day and age. So we're going to talk all about it. If you were following along, you saw on Instagram, that is. And if you're not following me on Instagram, you need to. So let me link that below in the show notes to follow me on the IG. It's at Amberly Devers, AmberlyDeavours. But what you see behind me is exactly how I've started my business, and I'm actually going to turn it around. I feel, I promise you, this is not an episode of hoarders. But for those of you who are new around here, a year ago, last month, no, a year ago, 2 months ago, so exactly 14 months ago, my husband and I relocated our family of five, no, family of seven, five of them children, to a little town outside of South Carolina. We have purchased 72 acres and we actually start framing the metal building this week. But temporarily, my mother in law has so graciously, reluctantly, maybe at this point, especially now that we've added 3 dogs. 2 of them will only be here for 6 weeks. But anyway, at her lake house. And so I have tried so hard to not disrupt her things as much as possible. And I really did a really decent job, I would say, in the beginning, 14 months ago, of keeping things really organized and somewhat presentable. But at this point, I'm kind of like on the tail end, which is not really the tail end, of just ready to start packing up things, hopefully summer things that will be in the house by summer, and things we're not using that we've accumulated. And so my surroundings do not look the way I don't want to say need them to look, but aesthetics are important to me. Aesthetics are important to me, as is my environment, which, as you know, if, especially if you have children, 5 of them, that typically is like very few and far between. So, from the early stages of having children, I had to learn to be content in spite of what my home looked like, because there was just never enough time or energy in the day for me to have everything. And I know a lot of you can relate to that the way that I wanted it. So, this is an example of that, and it does have a point, and I will get to that in the moment. So, what we're going to talk about is really just the real life of an entrepreneur and how to create and build and sustain and commit to a business in spite of your circumstances, in spite of your surroundings. We're going to talk about when you are unmotivated and when your inspiration fluctuates. And then I'm going to leave you with an action step, which is number 3, the biggest question for you to ask yourself when you are experiencing what all entrepreneurs experience in life and in business, whether it be your circumstances or your surroundings, as well as when you're unmotivated and inspiration is fluctuating. So And I did that today just to show you and just to talk about my behind the scenes of what it looks like. I actually created a reel today and I shared it because one of my most favorite ways to work and to create and to brainstorm and to just be is actually in my bed in cozy clothes, drinking coffee with my fan on for noise, to get out the noise going on around me. Um, and so that's just what I love to do. But I also love to put on my makeup and do my hair and click my heels and go to work at my desk, which is in this closet. And I chose to show you this if you're watching this video and not get dressed. I was going to have my virtual background on and be dressed and show up super professionally. But I just want you to know that that's not what you have to do to have the business of your dreams and to work with the people God has called you and created you to work with and do your purpose work. You can, but it's not a secret to success. Now, I'm not going to show up like this every day. I'm not going to coach my clients like this any day, but I did just want to record this podcast like this and talk about the real life. Okay. So, the real life of an entrepreneur, what I see holding a lot of my clients back and prospective clients back in their life coaching or coaching business, right? Life coaching is just simply coaching in an area of life. So, whether you are an organizer coach or a fitness or nutrition coach or a business coach or an Instagram coach or a video coach or an accounting coach, whatever and whomever you coach, you're a life coach. Okay. And then obviously, if you're a Christian, then that is who I work with in this capacity. And so, what I'm finding people really struggling with, both in deciding to actually create a life coaching business and or being in their business and finding themselves unmotivated and uninspired and stuck, is that you think you have to have this certain thing ready before you begin. And I fell into that trap before I created the Christian Life Coach Academy. I really wanted to be like in my new office. I really wanted to have my own things. I wanted to be settled. And I'm using that term in quotations right now because I don't know what settled actually looks like at my age of 44 years old and having been a former Army brat. But we have this tendency to believe that there will be this certain point where everything is ready. Okay. Your environment, your technology, worksheets, printables, a back end system. And that's not actually how you have to start. You can do it however you want. But what I teach is a very, very simple business method and strategy for creating up to six figures if you choose, just simply working with women or whoever you coach one on one in a very, very simplistic way. It's actually the way that I created a six-figure business in less than 10 months, coaching 10 women per week. So that's what I like to walk you through. However, I will walk you through whatever it is and however it is you're coming to the academy to work with me. Another thing that you have to be willing to experience as a real life entrepreneur owning your own coaching business is not just starting before you're ready in terms of your environment and your technology, but another thing that I see holding back current clients and prospective clients is thinking, well, things don't seem ready right now, and things aren't put together enough, and my schedule just seems crazy. And so, what I mean by that is, you've got a child going off to college. You may have a child getting married. You might be moving. Now, y'all, I have 5 kids, and I'm not like that's not like a badge of honor, but we have moved 3 times. Okay. As in, we packed everything up and moved to a different house 3 times in the last 2.5, 3 years. And then obviously we'll do it again whenever this house is finished. We don't have as much to pack up, but we have everything in storage. So it'll have to be moved into the house and unpacked. Additionally, I have 5 children who, we have babysitting schedules, we have sports schedules, we have volleyball times 3 on 2 different teams, we have soccer times 2 on 2 different teams. We have a very busy and full life. And I am not immune or oblivious to the fact that In 3 years, I'll have one graduating high school. I'll have a college student. I'll have all of these things happening. Lord willing, one day they will meet someone and get married. They will be having children. And so we have this tendency, especially if you're not used to thinking like an entrepreneur, that life has to be settled and certain things have to be finished before you can have your business. I coached my women, I call them. I coached sitting in the floor with my laptop on top of moving boxes many a time. Okay. So, what happens when we say, oh, well, when I get this child moved in, and when this child has their baby, and when I'm back from this, and when I start that, and when the boxes are unpacked, or when the boxes are packed, well, then I can have my coaching business. I just want you to know, if we wait for any of these things, yourself, myself included, we will not have a business. To have a business, to have your coaching business, to have the real life of an entrepreneur, you move about your business in spite of life. All of that is life. Because after the kid moves to college, he's going to one day graduate from college. He's going to have these events. There are going to be things that you will travel to that will seem very big. Additionally, though, I want to mention life is different than grief, loss, significant illness, trauma. Those things could potentially allow you to pause your business. But other than that, there are times where you're going to have life's interruptions and just regular life that is not going to settle down. So you need to block in your business when you're going to work on it, when you're going to coach clients, and then watch how your life evolves around it. You can make all of it work, even when your schedule seems crazy, right? Like for me as an entrepreneur, as a coach, I have 5 kids. They're ages 8 to 15. That looks one way, but that's not going to be any different. My life will have some differences, obviously, when I'm an empty nester, but I have several clients now who are empty nesters. Their circumstances, their daily situations look very different than mine in terms of life, in terms of schedule, etc. But we all have circumstances. And those circumstances, without proper thought management, trust, prayer, all the things, are going to hold you back from your business, right? So me getting 3 kids to volleyball and 2 kids to soccer and making sure everybody has food to be gone from, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., during those school days that are quickly approaching for me. That's why this is all very fresh and very relevant, because I'm looking at it. I see it just like you see yours. I am not immune to that. But when I look at that, it's truly no different than some of my clients who are empty nesters, and they have busy lives too, full of circumstances and full of situations. So the secret here in the real life of an entrepreneur with a coaching business is to not think that when the child moves to college, when the wedding happens, when you move, when you're packed, when you're unpacked, that's going to make things seem like it's ready. It is not ever going to be ready if you wait for it to be ready. So you actually have to go first in deciding, I'm ready, this is ready, and I will work it all out in between one another. That is the real life of an entrepreneur. Number 2, as an entrepreneur, you are going to experience times where you feel unmotivated and you feel uninspired. And perhaps it is because the life situations and the life circumstances and the life schedule is so full that you don't even have time to think or time to create. That is how I have felt all of July, June, and now the first week of August. No, I had no clue, even as intentional as I was, what our schedule and our summer was going to actually look like until I was in it. And so you have to pivot, you have to regroup. And it's really, really interesting because in the entire month of June, Bray and I looked at our calendar and we talked about it afterward. We had a youth group camp one week, and then another one was at the youth group camp another week. And then the other kids and I went out of town, and my husband went a different place. And when we looked at it, we were like, oh my goodness, as a family, we were home a solid 5 days together the entire month of June. And then what happened in July for us was We were home, I believe, for the most part, yes, but I had kids babysitting. There was, what else did we do? There were things that happened in July as well that made it seem just as discombobulated. So I am not, my life is not any different from yours. The difference is I don't expect those things to put my business on hold. You can have rest, you can have a pause, but to just think that in order for you to be successful or to actually truly have a business, you have to wait for those things to go away is a little bit of wishful thinking. And in that case, maybe you shouldn't have a coaching business because there's going to be a resiliency and a determination and a perseverance that must exist for you to have that coaching business and doing that passion purpose work that you have when you do feel so inspired and so motivated, right? That is what keeps you going even when you are not. So, for example, here is something that happened to me. So, in June, I experienced my highest revenue to date in a 1-month period of time after 5 years of online business. It was near 6 figures, and life has been so full of circumstances and situations that it was just like on to the next thing, on to the next thing, which is totally what I teach against because that should have yielded an incredible celebration. But instead, it yielded this term, if you're not familiar with it, I'm going to explain it to you, called cognitive dissonance. And what happened was, if you have been following along, thinking about the Christian Life Coach Academy, or if you're in the Christian Life Coach Academy, I started out doing what we call launches, right? So the academy would be open and then it would be closed. And there's so many different rules of thought, and you get to find the approach and the strategy and that works for you. But I found for me during that season that a launch was very stressful and exhausting to me. And so I decided to keep the academy open. Now, what happened in the month of June was the structure of the academy in terms of the duration of the time in which someone can now be a member of the academy changed. So as I was talking about these things are changing, um, X, Y, or Z is expiring. What happened was it seemed like a launch. It was like I put myself in a launch. And so I immediately, the website was updated, my Facebook ads were updated, the video was updated, the emails were updated to reflect the new, really just the duration and the pricing of the academy. And my brain absolutely flipped out from cognitive dissonance. Okay. What cognitive dissonance is it's the mental discomfort you feel when you introduce new contradictory thoughts and therefore disagree with yourself. It was crazy town. I have not experienced that level of cognitive dissonance in a very, very long time. And so what's so interesting is, there was this level of exhaustion. There was this level of, oh my gosh, I basically just went through a launch and I didn't even have an intentional launch. And so, and then the cognitive dissonance was so strong that I intentionally put the academy on a wait list as I really processed what was going on. Additionally, life circumstances and situations and scheduling just led to a kind of like oh my gosh, I really need some rest. I didn't know it at the time, and I'm going to get into that in a moment. But what kept coming up for me, which was so interesting, were feelings of sadness and disappointment. And it was so, so bizarre because there was no reason for me to be sad or disappointed. But that is what our brains do. So when our body is, and this happened when Bray and I got married, there was so much excitement. There was so much in such a short period of time. We were dating, engaged, and married in 4 months. We had 11 showers, like couples, bridal, etc. We had 600 people at our reception. We actually had a very small destination wedding in Jamaica, but then we had this 600 person reception. And I just remember that I opened presents. I think I had 16 place settings of China, but I opened gifts and wrote thank you notes forever. And I just remember feeling so like irritated and stressed and anxious and all these things. And it was because my body was so busy going to all of these things, having all these conversations out of excitement. But sometimes your body and your brain just doesn't know the difference. And so that's kind of what was happening for me, over the last month or so, was just this feeling of sadness and disappointment because guess what I didn't realize I was actually experiencing? And that was rest and peace and calm. All of these things that I've worked so diligently to create in my business as I'm scaling, I had actually created and I had no idea how to experience it. I was like, oh, and then it hit me. It was like, oh my goodness. That is what is going on is this cognitive dissonance between this mental discomfort of what I had created that my actual self wasn't used to experiencing. And so learning how to allow peace, allow rest. And I've done that before in various situations, but not yet at this level in my business. And so my body just didn't know the difference. My brain, those habits had resurfaced out of hello, habit. And so now I'm like, oh, now I know what to do. So what was coming across to me as unmotivated and uninspired was actually a lot of inspiration and a lot of motivation, but not knowing how to or not being able to do that because what was actually supposed to be happening during that time was rest. And it's been so great. Actually, that's a lie. It hasn't actually been so great because it's been so new and uncomfortable, but it's getting great and it is getting comfortable. And so I'm so excited to be creating that as my new baseline. I have some incredible things coming that I cannot wait to share with you. And I will share some of that with you here in just a minute. But if you find yourself, and so this is really where I'm leading you for today, is if you find yourself in this, cognitive dissonance yourself, between like what it actually looks like to have the real life of an entrepreneur, right? You're thinking, oh, well, with all this creativity and inspiration and excitement and passion I have to do this, huge work with women, I have to wait for that. I have to wait until, he goes off to college or she moves in or the grandbaby's born or the dorm room's decorated or they're out of the house or I'm unpacked or I'm packed or, the hardware's picked out in the new house. We have this tendency to think that it's those situations that are leaving us to feel like we aren't motivated or inspired enough to take action to get the business going or to grow the business or sustain the business or keep going in the business. And the opposite of that is actually true. And so the question that I'm going to leave you with so that you can go out and add value to and communicate with and make offers to your, communicating and adding value to your current clients, making offers, adding value and transformation to your prospective clients is the exact same thing and the exact same way that I am showing up here with you today. Okay. No makeup. I don't even think this is like one of those cute messy buns. I don't even like it doesn't qualify. These are like my kids would be like, that's cringy, that's embarrassing. I can't believe you showed up that way, but yo, here I am. But the biggest question that I asked myself in the midst of this sadness and this disappointment and this cognitive dissonance and just kind of being where I've been the past 6 weeks was what do my current clients, my ideal clients, my prospective clients need to hear and see from me today? And that is exactly how I'm showing up. Just sharing where I am, sharing what I'm doing, sharing how I look, and just sharing with you that this is the real life of an entrepreneur. It doesn't have to look a certain way. It doesn't have to look the way you see her doing it or the way you've been told it has to be. It gets to look like and be who you are, who you look like in this very moment. Because what's more important than my background of like a disorganized medicine situation, towels that are messy behind me, my mother-in-law's clothes and shoes that she keeps here at her vacation home. Thank you very much. Like it doesn't matter what it looks like behind you. What matters is that you are showing up in vulnerability, in transparency, in value, and in transformation for the people that you know you've been called to serve and help in the way that God's created you to do. So that is what I want to leave you with today. Is just those few things. I hope that you find that helpful. I apologize that I was not here last week. Y'all, I thought the dog, okay, we have a 6-year-old Catahoula named Dixie, whom we just brought home a new little puppy. He's now 5 months old. He's not little, he's ginormous. His paw is almost as big as my face. I'm not kidding. He looks like a tiger, like a Siberian white, whatever. Is there white tigers? That's what he looks like. And so there's a breed of dog called, and I know that's a touchy subject. Why would we breed full bred dogs when there are so many in shelters that need to be adopted? But I adopt humans, not animals. So we can have that conversation later. But anyway, we were going to breed these two to have a Catahoula bulldog. It's called a Catabull, I think. So the 6-year-old, I'm like, I don't know a ton about the reproductive systems of canines, but I think she might be in menopause because I won't go into it until 2 weeks later. I was like, oh, she's not in menopause. That it's back. But it was a little too late because Bud, the mixed beagle outside mutt up the street, came to visit. And from all of my research that I had done, when I was looking into this breeding situation as a hobby later when we move, I know that you can begin looking for signs at week 6 and 7. They deliver after 9 weeks of, oh my gosh, I'm losing the term right now, 63 days from potentially from mating. Do you have puppies? And so last week I was a little bit behind on podcast production. And it was 2 of my girls, one had to babysit the next day. So I was like, you have to go to sleep. But we stayed up all night with Dixie. I was the doula, but she actually did not deliver the puppies until later that afternoon the next day. But by this point, it had been like 48 hours of like awakeness and like help, like tending to her. She's already high maintenance. And it was such a beautiful experience for our family. It was so neat. I would not trade that for the world. And so glad we got to do that in the summer together, even if it was a surprise. And it was just like, I was like, oh my gosh, I am not able to do the podcast this week. And it was the first time I've ever done that. It's actually a big no-no. So I hope you forgive me. But here we are this week. And so what I do want to let you know before we go is that the Academy is going to be open for enrollment. There's about 25 people on the wait list. And it's going to be open August 18th through August 29th. And I am opening it now, which was not really intended to open until the middle of September when I host a workshop called Irresistible, where you create your irresistible offer, your irresistible business, your irresistible life, doing what you have been created to do so that you can make an impact and an income for your family without sacrificing the ones that you love most. And so I'll give you the details on that and open up that page for you to visit soon. But until then, depending on where you're listening to this, if it's before August 18th, you can head to the link in the show notes because I actually have a video that I want to share with you from a training I've done with my clients this summer that they absolutely loved. And so I want to share that with you for free to help you get ready to prepare for coming into the Academy. It is actually establishing your business beliefs because just like what I shared with you now, some of the things that are holding you back currently from getting your business started and feeling unmotivated, maybe feeling uninspired and not stepping out and doing your purpose work by just simply asking yourself that question that I shared with you about how do you show up now for the clients God's created you to serve in spite of your situations and circumstances and life happening all around you. And when you have your business beliefs in place, you are building a solid foundation to actually go out and do that. So I want to leave that with you in the meantime. So be sure to head to the show notes. You can watch that training for free, and then that will put you on the priority list so that when the Academy opens, you'll be ready to hop in with us, which the most important thing about it And why I'm also opening it before mid-September is because I am hosting a 2-day business retreat. October, I can't even think of the dates, but in order for you to get your ticket, which is not very expensive, and make travel arrangements to join us, which I truly believe is going to be the catalyst for setting up your business, this event, for success in 2023, because hello, that's where we'll be. We'll be in quarter four, preparing for quarter one. And so that's what we're going to do together. We're going to have a fancy dinner at a 5-star restaurant that I am providing for you. So, and I cannot wait to do that. It is, Ray took me there for my birthday and it's so great. You'll be able to read all about it when you register for the event. And so in order for you to be able to make your accommodations before the deadline, that is the only reason why I'm opening the academy for this short period of time. So you can do that if you do want to join us. You're still welcome to join the academy, even if you cannot participate in the event, which is going to be October the 16th, or no, let me look at my calendar. It's going to be October, it's going to be October 17th through the 19th. So, and it's going to be outside of Greenville, South Carolina. It's going to be a really, really great time together. I've been working on the content for that for about a month. So I can't wait for that. Additionally, we'll have the Irresistible Workshop coming up in September. So stay tuned for those dates. But for now, head to the link in the show notes and watch the Business Beliefs training. It is free. And then from there, you'll be kept up to date of when the academy opens for enrollment. So you can jump in. And if you choose to join us at the retreat, we would love to have you. If you can't make it, I totally understand, but definitely go ahead and get in the academy either way before the next actual opening. So great being here with you today. I hope you have a fantastic Wednesday.